Huh. All right, only one overlap. Nice.
And what might that be?
Well, why would I tell you?
Well, why wouldn't you?
Because I never do.
Well, I never asked.
Well, I never volunteered that I always look.
Well, I never asked.
Well, you still haven't asked.
What's the overlap?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you.
Why?
Because I think it's more spontaneous.
It's not that spontaneous because you know and I don't.
It's half spontaneous. It's spont.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to use yours because you have two of them on the topic. So you're better prepared than I am.
Not necessarily.
Trust me. Hold on, let's get my coffee. Beautiful. Now, wow, you're hitting the gate really hard today.
What?
Yeah, you were hitting the gate. I still can't get over it. Like, I still feel like I turn on the transmitter when I turn on the stream. It feels like a transmitter.
Yeah.
And then to walk away. And then, and of course I have the radio on in the rest of the house. And I hear you playing your god-awful instruments. And it's an odd sensation.
Bet it is. My God, awful instruments. Oh, wait a minute. Are you talking about...
Yeah. Yeah, that would be it. Mm-hmm. Now you're just showing off.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I need to put batteries in the backup. Yes.
So in the early days of tech TV,
yeah,
when it was ZDTV. They had, professional crew, and they had all the makeup, or they had all these things going on. Before they started chipping away at it. And,
you mean because the investors were tired of losing money?
well, what do they get into television for? So they first thing they did was ask the simple question: why are we changing all the batteries and all the wireless remote mics every day?
This is a waste. Oh, I hear every other place I've worked at. Yes. Okay.
And of course, the mic went dead on the air.
Live on the air?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I talked to corporate, and they really want you to not be, carry some of that battery stuff over, It's like mix it up a little. Put one in the left compartment and the other one in the other mic, and just, try not to. Let's reduce our battery usage, okay? Just do me a solid on this. Okay, both.
Now, the good thing about when they were going through batteries every day, they would box them out. They just throw them in a box, and I take the box home.
But you know that any audio guy worth his audio guy salt, when he gets that talk, the audio guy's like, okay, asshole, sure. I mean, he doesn't say it out loud. He's thinking to himself, sure, no batteries. Then it goes dead. He says, you said?
Oh, yeah, I know. In fact, if they haven't planned it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me get art. No agenda. Art generator. .como. You ever have that where somehow you typed .como? Like Google?
No, never.
I once typed google.como. I don't know why. And so now I get the autocomplete Como. And if I don't remember, keeps doing
.como. I hate that. It makes all kinds of assumptions.
Yeah.
You make one mistake and you're doomed for life to have it thrown in your face.
I'm sure there's a way to fix it, but I don't know why am I not bothered.
Well, I don't even know if there is a way to fix it.
No, I'm sure.
I guess if you disabled everything, or you turned it off and then turned it back on, so I had to reset, maybe that would help.
Righty here. Woo! Let's see. Where is
Fat lady!
Okay, let me hear that again.
Fat lady!
Yes. It's very interesting how been using the hearing aids now for quite a while. And I'm noticing that I'm not turning my headphones up during the show when I'm not wearing them as loud as I used to.
That's interesting. What do you think that's causing that?
I don't know, but I'm actually turning it down because the volume is a little piercing. Oh wait, you're playing the recorder.
Oh ho ho!
No, just kidding. No, I really did. I turned it down. I'm turning it down some more. Yes.
Fat lady! Fat bitch! Valkyrie!
It's the NoAgendaShow.
There she is, Libby Schwartz. And that means we're getting ready for the big show. But first, there it is. The bat signal has been deployed. Go retweet and boost where you can. of all systems. Oh. There we go. That's better. No, it's just you and me. Nobody else. All alone. Together.
No, I'm here too.
Yeah, that's you and me. Together. The Foamer. Oh. Zephyr?
Yep.
And it's late.
4, 5, 6. It's late. Yeah, it's late 5 minutes.
Oh my God! Listen to that horn!
That is the best.
That's right, everybody. We are well over 50. Just so you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, hit it.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, September 6, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1066.
This is No Agenda.
Handling the Hunger Stones and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the Zephyr actually honked its horn today, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, you got to think by now that the guys on the Zephyr know about you. And they've triangulated you by now, surely.
Oh, by the way, when we did the Sacramento meetup, there was one of the conductors was out in front of the station to say hi.
Yeah, because and we have exclusive audio of that event. Oh my God! Listen to that horn! I mean, you know what? Is there a Foamer podcast?
There should be.
Hell yeah, and you should be.
Most of the stuff, most of the Foamer stuff is on RFD or RFD TV, which is a cable station, and they play these unbelievably long videos of one train just going through, going here and there, and just keep following it. It's just unbelievably dull.
I think it would be interesting. I would certainly listen to it, especially if they had guests on who brought their own favorite train clips and have it really high quality. Not just a 96 kilohertz sample. Do like 192 or do 300 plus. And really have the binaural sound of the train going by. That I would listen to.
Yeah, but you can't listen to that for too long.
Oh, it's a very short podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe a 10-minute podcast. But just listen to a bunch of horns.
Anyway, it was busy, man. Finally, some stuff to watch on C-SPAN. Sadly, at the same time. Oh, my God. And I looked at the clip list today and this is fantastic. We have almost no overlap. You did the Supreme Court mainly, Kavanaugh, and I mainly did I have one clip from that, and I mainly did the what was the exact title of it? It was Foreign Influence in Social Media with Sandberg and Dorsey.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to watch that, and I didn't. I was more interested in watching these guys screaming at each other.
I watched that whole opening and I'm like, oh, really? It's just another scripted shit show. It's like, I don't need to see that. Although it's entertaining. But I already saw that. I saw that the day before, the first day. Like, okay, I'm doing that. And then the second day they did it again. You want to get into it now first, or you just want to hear how we're all going to die just to set the mood for the show?
Well, I just started with I think we can tease the Supreme Court with, this is my Supreme Court hearing out of control moment. This is the way the whole first day went.
Wait. Oh, out of control moment. Got it. Yes, here we go.
Chairman.
To serve as justice.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized for a question before we proceed.
Regular order, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized to ask a question before we proceed. The committee received just last night, less than 15 hours ago, 42,000 pages of documents.
And this is Kamala Harris from California. or as they do on C-SPAN radio.
Documents that we have not
Kamala
had an
Harris,
opportunity
California.
to review or read or analyze.
You're out of order. I'll proceed.
We cannot possibly move forward, Mr. Chairman.
I
with this
extend a
hearing.
very warm
We have
welcome
not
to
been
Judge
given an
Kavanaugh.
opportunity to have a meaningful
his wife,
hearing on
Ashley.
this nominee.
Their two daughters.
Mr. Chairman,
Their
I
extended
agree with my
family and
colleague,
friends.
Senator Harris. Mr. Chairman,
Judge
we
Kavanaugh's
received
many law
42,000
clerks
documents that we haven't
and
been
everyone
able
else
to
joining us
review last
today.
night, and we believe this hearing should
I
be
know this is an
postponed.
exciting day for all of you here.
I don't understand why he brought his two daughters. The whole day was an embarrassment for them. They were sitting there in their pretty frocks with mom. And,
And mom looked like she was about to kill someone.
Yeah, I mean, it was. It's not the most important part of the story, but I just felt bad. I'm like, dude, what? You knew this was going to happen. Are you an idiot? Don't bring your kids to this. It's just going to suck. And then all the coordinated, we haven't seen the documents, 48 million documents.
Well, the thing that was funny about it is that, and one of the guys called out the group, one of the new, don't have his name. We haven't familiarized ourselves with
the freshman from the freshman class.
It's one of the new guys on the committee. He's not John Kennedy, the old fart that's a new guy, but a younger guy.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm looking at a tweet right here from Chuck Schumer. He's telling all the Democrats to stall, do anything they can to postpone these hearings. Is that what you guys are doing over there? He kept bringing tweets up. Apparently, he was watching his phone the whole time during all the hearings.
Well, of course.
And then one of them pointed out, and which I think should have been pointed out more, was the Democrats before the hearings all said, we're voting no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're voting no matter what do you care about the documents coming in late or whatever? You're voting no.
Well, exactly.
So documents come in or don't come in.
Well, I presume that they tried to maybe somehow convince one or two Republicans to vote against him. What I heard the big talking heads talking about on the cable news was, and it was so long ago at the beginning of the week I didn't even think to go look and clip it. Well, how come you guys didn't walk away? And there was kind of this push from the media, like, you guys should walk out. You should walk out. It'll be really good. Walk away. Just walk out of it. Just fuck them. And everyone's like, well, we don't really want to do that because then we really lose all the power. So there was kind of that discussion. And I think they really thought, well, maybe we can convince one or two guys, shame them into it with the coordinated people in the audience standing up every 10 minutes. I mean, it was.
There was somebody standing up and leaving one would get out, they get kicked out. Then another one. They're all screaming in that high pitched voice.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of short little guys if you want to hear them.
Well, yeah. Your tease has become the segment, so let's move right through it. I'm liking what I'm hearing.
All right, so let's go with a couple of little.
Have we even talked to what this is about? That this is the confirmation hearing of the.
It's a good idea to mention it.
Yes,
I didn't even mention it.
So this is Judge Kavanaugh, who Trump appointed as
nominated.
Well, I think he appoints him, and then he has to be confirmed. I don't think it's a nomination.
Okay.
And now it has to go through the Senate, and Senate has to. It's just a straight majority, I think, for this. Yeah, just so 51.
But first, it has to get out of this committee.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes. Complicated process. Yeah, this is still the committee?
Yeah, this is the committee.
And then where does it go?
Then it goes to the vote for the
then everyone gets to vote on it. Okay, I got it. So what's the make of the committee? Do they have a vote, or that just someone says, "Hey, nice chat," and yay or nay? How does that work?
Yeah, they vote and they say, "Okay, we can push it to the Senate."
Well, how many Republicans, how many Democrats on the committee?
I don't know the exact number, but there's one more Republican.
It's all show, right? Let's just agree it's a big show. It's grandstanding. Yes. It's a show. Okay. And Campbell Harris was back and forth between this one and between the social media. It's just they were busy.
Well, here's a classic example of Kamala Harris. This is a short clip.
I will be paying, of course, very close attention to your testimony, and I think the American public will be paying very close attention to your testimony.
Yeah.
No, they won't. Who is she, an idiot? What is she saying this? You and I are paying some attention. but nobody's paying very close attention. And then Lindsey Graham, of course, had a couple of good points. He kind of pointed out what you just said a second ago. Play the Lindsey Graham hypocrisy clip.
To my colleagues on the other side, I look forward to working with you, but we have a different view here. I think you got to be blind as to what's going on here. Have you heard of Justice Breyer? Do you know him? You can't say anything, I guess. Where did he come from? He was Ted Kennedy's Senate Judiciary person. Yeah. Where do you think Republicans are going to go find a judge? The whole argument is you can be a conservative Republican president, but you got to nominate a liberal to be fair to the country. That's absurd. Where do you think Ruth Bader Ginsburg came from? She was a general counsel with the ACLU. Wonderful person. What groups do y'all use to pick from? This is shaping up to be the hypocrisy hearing. And that's hard to do in the Senate.
Yeah, Lindsey is really, it's like one testicle dropped on the guy.
Well, there was this incident that was, there's no clip of it.
I saw this. I saw the video at the funeral, the McCain funeral.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Explain. It's really good.
Well, Lindsey Graham was there, and all of a sudden, Uma Abedin comes running up
beeline through the crowd.
Yeah, beeline through the crowd and gives him a big hug and the yak, and a couple of sorority sisters. And meanwhile,
John Kelly. Yeah,
Kelly and Mattis were both there. And I think it was Mattis that first spotted him, and he looked around and he said, what are these two doing? And then Kelly.
And by the way, Lindsey Graham was doing kind of that, I'm at the funeral and no one wants to talk to me. He had kind of that look on his face.
Well, after Abedin left, that's what happened. And then Kelly turns around. I didn't realize how tall that guy is.
Yeah, a little menacing, actually.
He's got to be able to stand up to Trump because he's at least the same height.
Right.
And he's standing there, and then all of a sudden he just starts staring at Lindsey. and with a real, a stare, what is it you're up to? Staring at him, and Graham is not noticing. Then he looks at him. Suddenly he catches his eye, and he's like, yeah. And he kind of freezes. And then Kelly gives him some sort of a sign.
Well, it looks a little, at first, it looks like he's giving, because he's basically touching the bottom underneath his eye with his index finger, but it's the other side of his nose than the camera is positioned. And it could also have been just, I got some crud in my eye. Oh no, it's Lindsey Graham. But it could have been a signal like, I got my eye on you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And so then after that, Lindsey becomes this great apologist for Trump at these hearings.
I said only one testicle dropped on him, not both, just one. Yeah. But he's out there.
He was doing the best job of all the people there. He finally, but there's something's up with that guy. So
let's see what kind of hashtag Me Too moment we can have about Lindsey Graham. Wouldn't that be great? If it turned out the guy was a harasser.
It's pretty obvious. So this is his little, very short comment about election. This is a second clip from him.
You had a chance and you lost. If you want to pick judges from your way of thinking, then you better win an election.
Woohoo! See, that's what I'm telling you. Lindsey's got a little ballsy all of a sudden. I like this Lindsey.
Well, once his dad died.
He lives with his mom still?
Sorry, not his dad, but McCain.
Just a small interjection. We make jokes like this, and the other night I actually regretted. We made a lot of jokes about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, how she falls asleep. She's funny. She's just look at her. She's funny, and she looks funny. And I saw the documentary about her. Oh my! I have respect for this woman. She's still fantastically. In fact, she is very humorous. But I felt like, oh man, I've been laughing at her without really knowing her whole story. Her whole story is pretty outrageously cool.
Okay.
Just as so when we laugh about Lindsey Graham,
so that's going to stop us?
No, I'm just saying, it's my conscience.
Don't get invited to anything.
I just need to get it off my chest. Now back to laughing about Lindsey Graham and his little testicle.
So Feinstein comes out, and she said something that I think she wanted to say one thing, and she kind of drifted off and said something else. And if you listen to the structure of what she's trying to say, I think she wanted to say that she says the country is, she's a diversity nut. The country's diverse and we should have I think she was saying we don't want to put another white guy in the Supreme Court. She never actually said that, but I think that's what she wanted to say in a roundabout way.
Behind the noise is really a very sincere belief that it is so important to keep in this country, which is multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multi-economic, a court that really serves the people and serves this great democracy. And that's my worry. That's my worry. So I look forward to your statement and answering the questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and I have two clips that I need to play here.
But before you go,
it's about Feinstein.
What does multi-economic mean? Multi-diverse, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multi-economic. What does that mean?
That means we have rich people and very poor people. Multi-economic.
What else could it mean?
Multi-economic. So we need a homeless person.
It seems to me the exact. Well, that's like during the Nixon administration, where Nixon says somebody needs to represent the mediocre.
No, who said that?
Yeah, I believe it was Nixon. I think people can look into this because he was being criticized. He was being condemned for picking somebody who was mediocre. He says there's a lot of mediocre. I'm paraphrasing. There's a lot of mediocre people, which is kind of what Feinstein just said. There's a lot of mediocre people in the country, so they need to be represented with a mediocre justice.
Oh, man. You want to hear the flub of the week real quick?
Yeah.
This is John Kasich. And he was talking on the Big Head Cuomo Kid show on CNN.
Look, I learned early on in my job when I had a fight with the unions that, and sometimes you have to fight and stand tough, but if you do it all the time, it's distracting. You can't achieve your bigger purposes, and it's not about it's not about I win, you lose. The other thing is when you look at the Congress, though, it's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death. And look at this circus of a hearing that's going on.
What?
Listen again.
What?
Listen again.
Holy mackerel. That is give yourself clip of the day.
Clip of the day.
It's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death.
Matt.
This is fantastic. I know. I actually cried the first time I heard it. It's a good Lord. Thank you for making the show. This is a good 30 seconds worth of conversation. We'll extend it even.
It's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death.
Oh, damn. Cold.
Yeah, I'd say.
And how can a person not hear that at that moment? Anyway, let me I want to get back to Feinstein.
You would think that if the people were listening that do these shows, they were actually listening to the other person talk.
Yeah. Oh, well,
they would have caught something. No. He wasn't put to death. Let's make that clear.
Not that we know, not that we're aware of.
But that's what we would say.
Yeah, of course.
But that they wouldn't say that, but they would correct him.
Yes. All right. Can I go into Feinstein? Do you have a point? I probably interrupted your whole point about her.
No. The Feinstein thing, I think I've got it covered. It says she wants diversity, so we should have, another ethnic on the, even though we're already at the max, it seems. I mean, they have, how many people are Jewish on the Supreme Court? 3, maybe? I think they're overrepresented.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We need Pastafarians on there.
Why doesn't she bitch about that?
She's not a Pastafarian.
Well, she's Jewish too. I think is another reason.
Okay, there you go.
So I guess that's fine then. I just want to get a couple. Let me get these out of the way, and then you can.
Well, this is about Feinstein. It's about her questioning. That's why I inserted it here.
Okay, yes.
So
sounds good.
And I really only saw the beginning because I was going back to the Socialnets thing, and I see Feinstein trying to trick Kavanaugh into this conversation about. I guess in 93, her office wrote the assault weapons ban, which, of course, had a sunset clause after 10 years. And they had a review and said, well, it didn't do a damn bit of good. So we don't have to renew it. Just so you know, historical context. But she was asking about an opinion he wrote. And the guy wrote a lot of opinions about the reason that you could have an assault weapon legally is because they were not unusual. They were, there's millions of them. And then she tries to get him into a debate of, well, does that mean that these millions are used or they're just in the closet? It's not the same thing. You know, she's trying to relitigate the Second Amendment pretty much, like a moron, wasting everybody's time. And everyone could see it. You could see, I mean, even I see this coming from a mile away. It's like, are you really going to try this? So instead of playing that, let's listen to NPR's report. They spend about 7 seconds on it.
Guns, abortion, the scope of presidential power, all issues being put to Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh today. This is the second day of his confirmation hearings and the first chance for senators on the Judiciary Committee to question him in public. In a moment, we'll hear from one of those senators. First, NPR legal affairs correspondent Nina Totenberg joins us to walk through some of the nominees' responses today. Hi, Nina.
Hi.
Let's begin with guns.
Hi.
Kavanaugh has a reputation as being a very pro-gun rights
has a really
judge.
shitty
How was he
connection.
pressed on that today?
Well, as a judge, Kavanaugh has staked out a starkly different position from most lower court judges on gun rights, disagreeing even with fellow conservatives. Most notably, he dissented when his court upheld a District of Columbia statute banning assault weapons and ammunition magazines of more than 10 bullets. Today, questioned by Senator Dianne Feinstein, he maintained that under the Constitution and Supreme Court precedent, only unusual weapons can be regulated, and semi-automatic assault rifles are not unusual. They're in common use. Let's take a listen to the exchange.
You're saying the numbers determine common use?
They're widely possessed in the United States, Senator.
Beyond guns, he was also asked about abortion, and we know President Trump promised to name someone to the court who would overturn Roe versus Wade. What did Kavanaugh have to say about abortion?
Now, when I heard that, I thought, wait a minute. Did he say that we know the president said he would appoint someone who would overturn Roe versus Wade?
Yeah, that's what he said. I don't know if the president said that.
Well,
and if he did, by the way, let's stop right here because we've listened to these media guys long enough. If the president ever said that, they would play the clip.
So I went and got the only clip that I think comes close to what the claim is here. And you're right. They would have had the clip. They don't because he's...
Let's just start with everybody out there listening to this. Because we've noticed this over the last year. If there is a moment where Trump said something that they're making an assertion about, they're either going to lie about it and play a different clip, or they're going to play Trump saying it. They did not play Trump saying it. That means he didn't say it. Or we'll see what he did say because you have the clip.
Okay, so again, here's NPR. NPR, your national public radio.
States Senator.
Beyond guns, he was also asked about abortion, and we know President Trump promised to name someone to the court who would overturn Roe versus Wade. What did Kavanaugh have to say?
Now, let's listen to what the president actually said. This is from the final debate against Hillary Clinton. And do I have a date on this? It doesn't matter.
Mr. Trump, you're pro-life, but I want to ask you specifically, do you want the court, including the justices that you will name, to overturn Roe v. Wade, which includes, in fact, states a woman's right to abortion?
Well, if that would happen, because I am pro-life and I will be appointing pro-life judges, I would think that will go back to the individual states.
But I'm asking you specifically, would you like to...
If they overturned it, it'll go back to the states.
But what I'm asking you, sir, is do you want to see the court overturn? You just said you want to see the court protect the Second Amendment. Do you want to see the court overturn Roe v. Wade?
Well, if we put another 2 or perhaps 3 justices on, that's really what's going to be, that will happen. And that'll happen automatically, in my opinion, because I am putting pro-life justices on the court. I will say this, it will go back to the states, and the states will then make a determination.
There you go. He didn't say it.
No.
He said something really weaselly, but he did.
Yeah, he weaseled out of it. He did not say it.
He did not say it.
That's okay. No matter. He didn't say it. That's okay. They can say he said it.
Yeah.
He kind of said it.
Yeah.
This is the kind of news reporting we have. Well, he didn't say it, but he kind of said it.
And he actually added something important, which was omitted from the NPR report, which is no matter what happens, it goes back to the states where it probably belongs.
So people in California shouldn't be worried about anything.
They should be happy. They can do whatever they want. In fact, why don't they promote that?
Well, because it doesn't burn Trump enough.
Yeah, later on in the show, I got some flashbacks, and you and I will both reminisce about when some of the now crazy lefty people were really on our side of thinking. Interestingly, No, we'll get to that later. Let's continue with the Supreme Court.
I have two more things. I have Mike Lee. I got two clips from him. One is extremely long. You don't have to play the whole thing, but you just get an idea of what he's talking about by playing about probably the first half of clip one.
This is sort of how the practice of holding these hearings began, so that senators could ask nominees how they might vote, how they might rule in particular cases. But this didn't always happen. In fact, it wasn't until 1916 that this even started. You see, there have been 113 justices confirmed to the Supreme Court so far. The first 66 were confirmed without even holding a hearing. The idea of a hearing is relatively new. It's about 102 years old.
Yeah, see, I love this, John. Thank you. Having a little history lesson on the show is something we need to work on. It's entertaining, even if this happened hundreds of years ago.
Yes, because it gives us context that we're not getting from the news media.
Yes. Now we have to do it.
That's pathetic.
Podcasters.
In 125 and 130 years under our constitutional republic without ever having a hearing. But regardless, we started having hearings just over a century ago. The very first Supreme Court confirmation hearing occurred in 1916 with Justice Louis Brandeis. After Louis Brandeis was nominated to the court, some called for a hearing. Now, if we're honest with ourselves, if we're honest about history, I think a lot of this maybe had to do with some anti-sentiment fervor and the fact that Justice Brandeis was Jewish. But senators also wanted to determine whether Brandeis would use his seat on the Supreme Court to advocate for some of the things that he had advocated for as a private citizen, as a public interest attorney. They wanted to know how he might vote in particular cases. They didn't ask Justice Brandeis to testify significantly, but they did, in fact, ask some outside witnesses what they thought about his nomination. The next important moment, one could argue, occurred in 1939, when Felix Frankfurter became the first nominee to himself testify before the committee. At the time, Frankfurter was controversial in part because he was born overseas, but senators also worried that Frankfurter was a radical based on his defense of anarchists in court. So again, senators wanted assurances about how Frankfurter might rule in particular cases, in particular what results he might reach in a particular type of case. Frankfurter, however, significantly declined to engage with senators on those topics and insisted that his public record spoke for itself. Justice Stewart's nomination in 1959 was another turning point. Senators seeking to resist Brown versus Board of Education wanted to grill Stewart on his views on integration. Others still wanted to grill Stewart about his views on national security. So senators turned up the heat a little bit more in that hearing. Like Frankfurter before him, Justice Stewart did not provide substantive answers to their questions.
And I played the whole thing, as you can tell.
It goes on, and he talks about how now the standard of excellence is Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
RGB.
She had a rule. She says, I'm not going to tip my hat and just a bunch of during her hearings, and I don't think that I should be answering these sorts of questions. Right. And that's the standard that
Kennedy's response was to savage, unfairly in my opinion, the results that Judge Bork would reach if confirmed to the Supreme Court. The history shows that over the better part of a century, the Judiciary Committee has gradually created something of a new norm, a norm in which members demand that nominees speak about specific cases in return for favorable treatment from the committee as the jurists are going through this process.
Oh, man. He's wasting our time talking about people who are wasting our time in historical context of wasting time.
Yes, he is. That's a good observation. Now, I only have one last clip, and this is, or I actually have two. Another one's not really about this hearings, but this one here comes from the government. There's a guy, they have a number of historians that like to produce podcasts. They're not really podcasts. They're just kind of like little books on tape.
Are they hosted on Podbean?
No, they're not on Podbean, surprisingly enough. But I would say that I wouldn't be a podcaster if I had this guy's voice, because it's a guy, and I don't have his name in front of me, but he gives a little Supreme Court early history that was never mentioned by anybody, and it's actually kind of interesting.
Presidents nominate Supreme Court justices.
Oh, my God. I'm already loving the voice.
And the Senate has to confirm. There has been occasional trouble since the very beginning. The first justice to be denied a seat on the court was a man named John Rutledge. It was 1795, just 7 years into the new constitutional experiment. Rutledge had written an op-ed piece critical of the Jay Treaty, a 1794 treaty with Britain that tried to resolve certain lingering issues from the War of Independence. That was enough for a Federalist Senate to scotch his candidacy. Jefferson came into office in 1801 in what he called the Second American Revolution.
I got to stop for a second. This guy needs a noise gate real bad. Because you hear that. I don't know, man.
But poised to prevent that revolution was Chief Justice John Marshall, Jefferson's distant cousin. He was put into his life-tenured position in the last months of John Adams' failed one-term administration. Adams, who distrusted Jefferson's democratic radicalism, essentially engaged in last-minute court packing, Marshall and dozens of other midnight appointments, to make sure that Jefferson did not take things too far to the left. Marshall went on to serve for 34 years. He was perhaps the greatest of all Supreme Court justices. He was indeed a thorn in Jefferson's side. Marshall wanted America to be a great centralized nation-state, not a confederation of sovereign states. He wanted a nation that prized the sanctity of contract above any temporary notion of social justice. He despised Jefferson's vision of a lightly governed, inward-looking, agriculturally based loose association of proud commonwealths like Virginia and Pennsylvania. We now live in Marshall's America, not Jefferson's.
And that's the story. Paul Harvey, good day.
And that was probably right there was the fundamental basis for the Civil War. That guy, Marshall.
Yeah. Well, and that was social justice warriors. It sounds like Jefferson was a social Jefferson warrior.
He was.
And that's what we should call him.
Then he was a lefty. I mean, of course, they demean him because he owns slaves and all the rest of it.
Yeah. But he was
really closer.
He was the OG SJW.
The OG. Yeah.
Slave Jefferson warrior. Wow. Yeah.
Okay, finally.
No, we cannot. I'm sorry. That's my mistake.
Yeah.
Hold on.
What?
Well, we cannot. Where is this thing? Yes. We cannot end a segment like that without this jingle. I'm sorry. I will have it ready next time.
The more you know in the morning.
In the morning.
Just need to get that in there.
It was good. Well, yeah. I would say not tight.
No, the opposite of tight.
Now, this is the last thing. Now, this was an ad. Did you see this ad? This was the ad against Susan Collins. The social justice warriors put up an ad.
Wait, now, who is Susan Collins?
Susan Collins is a senator from Maine.
Uh-huh.
Who is the Republican swing vote.
Mm-hmm.
And she has to vote, as do all the Republicans. They have to vote yes on this guy. Uh-huh. And they think that she's a weak sister.
A weak sister. Okay.
And so the all these Democrats put together this ad claiming to be like her supporters, but you can just see this ad's a fake in terms of that. And they put this ad out, which is now floating around trying to get her to vote against Kavanaugh. And this is the ad.
Susan Collins. Senator, I have called you, I have emailed, I have written letters. Day after day, week after week. It has been pretty demoralizing to know that your elected representative is ignoring you.
So we're trying something new and hope that this will get your attention. Senator Collins, if you vote for Brett Kavanaugh, we're going to fund your future opponent.
A vote for Kavanaugh is almost certainly a vote to reverse Roe versus Wade.
As a Mainer who has a pre-existing condition, if you vote yes on Kavanaugh, you're voting to kill me.
If he was confirmed with the Supreme Court, he could instantly take away rights for people like me as a non-binary person.
Stop. I got to hear that part again. That was just so...
And then, by the way, it's followed up by the non-binary person.
Right. But also the cadence, the whole delivery of that line was just fantastic. If you're voting for, you're voting to kill me.
As a Mainer who has a pre-existing condition, if you vote yes on Kavanaugh, you're voting to kill me.
If he was confirmed with the Supreme Court, he could instantly take away rights for people like me as a non-binary person or people of nearly any marginalized identity.
If you vote to confirm Kavanaugh, we're not going to stop fighting until you're defeated.
Mainers need you to stand up and be a hero.
Be a hero. Be a hero.
Be a hero and vote no. And if you don't, we will replace you.
Whoa! Whoa! Who paid for that? That's great.
I don't know. I've yet to figure it out.
It's humorous. I like it. That's very funny. Yeah. I appreciate this kind of art, and I encourage that at any time in our media landscape.
If you vote for him, you're going to kill me.
Yes. Yeah, I think that is fantastic. Absolutely. Good job. Well, let's transition to the other side of Capitol Hill, and where we had the foreign influence on social media hearing, and this was in the Intelligence Committee, and I think we can do a nice transition with the only clips that overlapped during for this program, because John and I never discussed what we're going to do. I have no idea what he's going to talk about or what clips he's sending. I just get them before we start, 5 minutes before. I look at them just to make sure there's not too many doubles. I have one clip of Alex Jones versus Marco Rubio. You have two, so I think that you should run with the segment.
Actually, Marco, you might want to play your clip because my clips are kind of a trap. It's the clip plus a kicker, and I want to see what your clip is.
I just have the straight up clip. I just have straight up clip. I think we should do yours. This is an executive decision.
Okay, well, this is the clip that I'm going to play. This is Alex Jones versus Rubio. This is a clip that was generally promoted on the internet.
Yeah.
And it was Rubio giving a press briefing in the hallway and Jones butting in.
But I just want to say up front what I found so fascinating about this clip, and of course we'll hear it. Most of the clip is about this, so a big spoiler. Rubio, and I've seen this behavior. I'll give you an example. In the Netherlands, for sure, when I was 20, very early on, when being on TV was not as common as it is today, and people would, of course, recognize me, and they would always say, just without me even asking, "Hi, I don't know who you are." So I never watch. No, I never watch music television. You kidding me? I don't know who you are. When they, it's a very odd.
When you knew for a fact that they knew who you were.
Oh yes, and it's a very odd reaction that some people had. And of all people for this to happen, and Marco Rubio to do this, and to double and triple down on it with Jones shouting in his face, I give Alex Jones a 10+ for this, by the way. I wish I had those balls to promote our show. Because, he's just sticking his face and going, Infowars.com. I mean, I wish I had balls like that. That's fantastic. This is great.
Should I have a First Amendment, or should these companies be able to violate the whole Safe Harbor Act and all that, and then ban conservatives en masse?
Yeah, I don't know anything about your site, man.
No, but about the First Amendment.
Yeah, I support the First Amendment. I just ask questions about it.
I know.
Okay, stop. A couple of things. We have to start it over. Because I think it needs to be prefaced that Rubio is actually doing an interview with some woman from a local station, and Jones is just standing on the side there.
And just jumps in. Yeah.
And I believe he says Safe Harbor Act.
Instead of Safe Harbor? Safe Harbor?
Yeah, like Safe Harbor Act. Like, oh, you're going to put... Now, Rubio is funny. He'd catch that and turn around and say, what are you talking about? Putting trees up? I don't know what you're talking about. We don't need any more trees.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. That's pretty funny.
Should I have a First Amendment, or should these companies be able to violate the whole Safe Harbor Act and all that, and then ban conservatives en masse?
Yeah, I don't know anything about your site, man.
No, but about the First Amendment.
Yeah, I support the First Amendment. I just ask questions about it.
I know. You were the one that brought up China. Are you aware of the deplatforming going on?
In China?
No, here. Big tech companies are purging conservatives. They're shadow banning people en masse.
Yeah, well, my broader concern is that what we are trying to do in terms of preventing foreign interference in our elections, that technology could be used by authoritarian governments to argue, we want you to do the same thing against people that are in our...
And Jones makes an excellent argument. He says, dude, what are you talking about? That's happening here right now under your very nose.
Country operating. For example, for them, misinformation would be something like the truth. For them, sowing instability would be supporting democracy and free speech.
But the Democrats are doing what you said China does.
That you got from Sheryl Sandberg and Jack Dorsey on that question.
I think Facebook now I think it's important for them not to comply with any efforts to sort of go after freedom of expression.
What about the Democrats purging conservatives? She's not answering him. Just the Republicans are acting like it isn't happening. Thank God Trump is.
Well, but
it's weird, man.
Oh yeah, it's really weird. There's no purge of conservatives.
I don't know.
There's no shadow banning
are you
of members of
about
Congress.
Bias in social media?
Yeah, who's this guy? We deplatformed him.
Are you concerned about bias in social media?
Well, I think the bigger bias is against freedom of expression. Everybody should be. There's a look. I support going after.
It's happening here, but you say I don't exist.
Is that a heckler or a press or gaggle?
Look at this guy. He's saying that I don't exist, and they're deplatforming.
I just don't know who you are, man. I don't read your website.
Sure, and they demonize me in these very hearings.
And
then he plays dumb.
Here's the question.
Infowars.com.
Do you think that does Google, does Facebook, does Twitter, do they need to be regulated like do they need to be regulated?
Marco Rubio the snake. Little frat boy here.
All right, man. Yeah. Well, who are you, man?
Yeah, sure.
This guy? I swear to God, I don't know
better
who
hope
you
you
are,
get
man.
deplatforming.
So first he calls him Snake Eyes frat boy, and then he touches his shoulder, which he had done a couple times before, which I also found to be quite aggressive. I'd be like, dude, don't touch me. But then Rubio falls for it.
Tens of millions of views.
Infowars.
Bigger than Rush Limbaugh. He knows who Infowars is.
But
playing this joke over here. That's why the deplatforming didn't work.
But here's the question. Here's a question.
Don't touch me again, man. I'm asking you not to touch me.
Well, sure, I'll just pat you nicely.
I know, but I don't want to be. I don't know you, man. I don't know who you are.
It's not just going to
You're not going to get arrested, man. You're not going to get arrested. I'll take care of it myself.
Oh, he'll beat me up.
I didn't say that.
He didn't know who I am, but he's so mad. You're not going to silence me. You're not going to silence America.
But there are people.
You are literally like a little gangster thug.
What was that? Something at the end of your clip there.
It shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Anyway, he says you're a little gangster thug, and he ends. But then that's the clip that went around. But then, and you gave him the kudos, and I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Although he's just annoying.
I gave him kudos for promoting his show. I gave him kudos for that.
Michael Savage has an extended version that was done by Cassandra Fairbanks, one of the famous Twitter people that I follow, and she follows me. And she was there apparently. Putting this thing on Periscope live, and so when Rubio kind of gave up and started walking away, I think Jones kind of blew his credibility by calling him out as gay, and just and kind of goes a little nuts on this. And listen to the way it ends. What?
Well, I'm playing it, but I'm not hearing it.
Oh, well, that's not good.
Hold on.
What we are trying to do in terms of preventing foreign interference in our elections, that technology could be used by authoritarian governments to argue, we want you to do the same thing against people that are...
Maybe you didn't clip this, but should I move it? Because it's 2 minutes.
I may have... Move it to the end and see what it sounds like.
Okay.
Careful about we don't overreach in that direction.
But then he doesn't know about Infowars being banned. He doesn't know Rubio got so mad at me. Threatened me
there's a balance between...
I think...
poor Rubio.
I think I blew the clip.
Bro, look on the ground. I think you gave me the outtake.
I may have. Well, I'll tell you what he says. He says,
No.
Okay.
Damn.
Sorry, I can get that. I'll get that clip. I can go stop the show. I'll go get it now.
No. You don't have that clip.
But the point
no stopping of the show.
He calls him out. He says, go back to the bathhouse.
Oh, it's too bad you didn't have the clip.
Oh, this has happened to me before. It's happened to you once.
Nah, maybe twice. But it's okay because I have a clip maybe of similar proportion. This was really an interesting thing that happened. We had there was lots of messy stuff going on in the audience. We had the Democrats shouting and the SCOTUS hearing, and then we had all kinds of stuff going on with Alex Jones, and of course we had the social media network and election hearing, and that was interrupted by Laura Loomer.
Oh yes.
Now Laura Loomer, I'm might as well just tell you what I've been thinking for a while. She comes up with really interesting and well researched and surprising information, certainly about the Vegas shooting, and she has these just gems of nuggets from time to time, and then all of a sudden she's a 25-year-old moron again. It was like primping for the camera, and so she stands up in the back with her selfie stick, making sure she's filming herself, causing this ruckus, shouting something to the effect of, Jack Dorsey is meddling in the elections, he's quashing Republican voices, conservative voices.
Okay, hold on. So I didn't see any of these, which is what I expected you to do. I don't know why, but I did.
I don't know why either, but there you go.
But she was at this?
Yeah, in the back, in the audience.
So she
stands up and she starts interrupting. And I'm watching this dueling C-SPAN screens. And by the way, this is great on the Surface Go. I didn't know this about Windows, and maybe it's just the Surface, but you can drag a window to the edge, and then ploop, it'll take up half the screen, and it'll give you a choice for another window.
They'll do it.
That's a Windows 10 thing?
Yeah, and then you hit the escape button after you've done it accidentally.
Ever since Steve died, all that cool stuff that Apple used to do. And now someone's going to tell me they do it too. I'm sure they do.
That's beside the point.
Very much beside the point. Anyway, so I'm looking at this, and there she is, and I'm like, this is just grandizing. And now she has this thing like, you've been lured. Grandstanding. What did I say?
Grandizing.
No, I'm an idiot. Grandstanding. Yeah. And she has this, you've been lumered. Like, no. You got to be around a little longer before you can say that you've lumered. I mean, I would never say you've been Dvorak'd or curried or no agenda. No. We say you've been hit in the mouth. That's a little different. But lumered?
Well, you can always tell a chicken it's been curried.
Yes. So you've been lumered. So I have a feeling that she's being run by someone, that she has someone behind her who's giving her great information. And she just knows how to present it. She's, semi-cute. She's bubbly, young, energetic. And, so there's something going on behind her that is putting information out. Anyway, so this is not one of those moments. This is really her trying to lumer, and it fails, but it fails for a very interesting reason. And so I have these two screens going on. I'm like, is there a third? What is Meekham's auto auction on? What's happening here?
Turnout recognizes that.
All right, get a mic over to her. Get a mic over.
Order.
Get a mic over now.
We'll have order in the hearing room, or you'll be asked to leave. You'll please take a seat, or we'll have to have you. Then you'll need to relieve.
Donald Trump, help us. Please help us, Mr. President, before it is too late, because Jack Dorsey is trying to influence the election, to sway the election.
What's she saying? I can't understand her. What?
Steal the election. That is why he's censoring and shadow banning.
How about a damn 12 and a half, 15, 7 and a half, $20, 2 and a half, 5, 7 and a half, 30. Hit $30 down
so
here.
At this point, I'm like, what? I'm like, what's going on?
Hit $40, 2 and a half.
She's yelling. I'm hearing this.
Hit $50 down here. Officer, will you escort this young lady out, please? Hit 2 and a half now, 5, 55, 7 and a half, 70. Up 2 and a half now, 5, 75, 7 and a half, $80 to 5, 85, 90. Hit $100 and 10, 10, 10 and a quarter, 1 and a quarter, 1 half, 2, 2 and a quarter. Hit 2 and a half, 3, able to bomb 300. Hit 3 and a quarter. Cut 3 and a quarter now, half, 3 and a half. So divide 400. Yeah, but 4 and a quarter, 4 and a half. We're selling the cell phone there. 4 and a quarter, 4 and a half. Hit 4 and a half, 75, 505, 5 and a quarter, 5 and a half. I yield back.
Wow. That was Senator Long from Missouri. That was fantastic. Like, that was a really creative way of lightening the mood. Yeah, that was really good. And so, everyone just like, it was perfect. And then, of course, it ends on such a sour note, or just dumb. So this is like great. And now is your moment for the great line of the day. And no, what does he do?
Somehow I think our auctioneer in residence going to get tweeted about today.
Idiot. No. Okay. So that was all I really had of the interruptions. Wow. The guy's good though. Yeah, I like that.
Apparently he wasn't. That's a sound of a professional too. That's not like
yes. Well, we have a lot of them here in Tejas, so yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Yeah, I've always thought it'd be cool to be able to do that.
There was a song back in the day I could do. Hey, the auctioneer. I could do that. I could sing along with it. The auction. It's called the. I'll find it for the next show. The Auctioneer. Okay, so now we have on the other side of Senate, we have, or wherever, I don't know if it's really on the other side, we have the Intelligence Committee, and they have a hearing which is titled Foreign Influence in Social Media. Now, although all of these things are scripted, and you could even see both Dorsey and Sandberg, who were the only two there was an empty seat, ominously empty, where Google didn't show up. Ooh. Everyone referenced, ooh. Hey, they don't have to. They write everyone's checks. They don't have to show up. So that's what's going on there. And where's the outrage? Where's the media talking about Google being a bunch of either pussies, something to hide, or just plain rude?
They talk about it, but only in a normal, like, reporting manner.
Kind of they're Google, man. They don't have to show up. It's Google. By the way, what shows up? A big G, an Google logo? Who comes for Google? Eric Schmidt?
Who comes for Google?
Who comes for Google? Eric Schmidt.
Larry Page comes on to a gig because he talks like this. He can't really express himself. Got a low voice.
Okay.
I don't know.
So they're not there. There's no one from Google. But you can see Sandberg and Jack Dorsey from Twitter. They basically have the questions in long form sheets in front of them. So they know who's coming. They know what questions are coming. I don't know if it was abbreviated or not, but we know these things are scripted. But this is a topic that not everyone is well versed in. And I sadly, the one I forgot to do was and I will clip that for Sunday, is of Kamala Harris trying to understand the value of an ad buy, which is really important, but we can easily discuss it on Sunday. It's a much longer conversation because it's so convoluted, but I think you and I can pick it apart.
Okay, we'll do that.
But the hearing started off, and this is the first clip is a little over 2 minutes, and it kind of really says everything, and it shows you the difference between these two personalities, and I believe also the DNA of their companies. I don't know why I was up talking, and it was. I was doing my tech. I was doing my tech reporter voice. That's what it was. These two companies. Okay, let me tell you all about it. At least I caught myself. And the first question is the only question really we needed to have answered. Maybe I should ask you first for some reflection, because the first question is from the chairman is, what is social media? Now, what is social media to you, John? Before we hear from our witnesses.
Social media is a construct using the internet to interconnect people in groups, forums, or even individually, so they can interact without being anywhere near each other.
Someone should write that down, because that was very good. As you can imagine, it's not at all what their answers were. And Sandberg, now let me just get my other notes here. I did take a number of notes, even though I have just a few clips. First of all, Sandberg, I'm sorry, and I tried this out on Tina last night, not as a joke, but purely as just an observation. It didn't go very far, but Sandberg has got to be watching these hearings of herself. I'm sure she saw some tape. I'm thinking, God, why did I fuck up my nose so bad? I mean, she did something with a nose job. It was probably a second or a third time. And she had a broad nose. If you look at the Book of Knowledge and you go back, but it was cute. There was nothing wrong with it. And now it has kind of that Michael Jackson thing where two sides.
Away,
it's like it's Michael circa 1989. You know, where it starts to fall in on the side, and then the way the light hits it, it just looks like you have a small penis.
Got no structure left.
Looks like you have a small penis on your face. I mean, it's really bad. So anyway, and I'm sorry for her that she did that, but let it be a warning, people. Be careful what you do with your face. Dorsey read his opening statements. Dorsey read his opening statement from his iPhone, which I think was a big mistake. He was nervous, and if he hadn't said I'm shy at the beginning, which he did, I usually don't do these things, I'm shy. He could have been seen as a much closer to Tony Stark than Elon Musk, because he comes across as a very deep thinker. He carries his words very carefully, and I actually think he is a deep thinker and has thought about what he's doing and what Twitter is. And I have to say I'm very impressed by his performance in general. Let me see. The typical things are in there about, their business model and all of that stuff. We've heard it a million times. But there were some new terms and a couple of things I highlighted. Again, the advertising and the money flow and everything. I didn't get that one. I'll do that on Sunday. But let's start off with the opening statements with that very question.
This question is to...
Oh, and Sandberg...
Wait, hold on a second. Before you start teasing Sunday...
Oh, you're right. What am I thinking? It's not Sunday. Sunday we have a special show.
Yeah, you're talking about next Thursday.
Yes, next Thursday. Sorry. I'll probably forget. We'll never know.
No, you won't.
I'll remember. I will remember the Sandberg Kamala Harris clip. Okay, it's programmed. Now back to the show. And Sheryl Sandberg said her entire testimony was Miss Goody Goody Two Shoes, borderline Valley girl, had everything all sewn up. She's the veteran. She knows Jack's nervous and shy, and she's a.
This question is to both of you. How would you define social media for this committee and, more importantly, for the American people? And I'll start with you, Ms. Sandberg.
Social media enables you to share what you want to share when you want to share it without asking permission from anyone.
That's the top thing right there. Social media lets you share what you want to share with anyone without any permission, except permission from Facebook.
And that's how we meet our mission, which is giving people a voice.
I would have stopped you right there. Somebody should say, oh, really? So people can share like illegal images or atom bomb plans or anything they want to share, or there's, some sort of a meeting that's going to overthrow the government. That's all shareable. That's what social media is all about. But that?
You are now the senator from Kentucky. You have just won your seat on the Senate Intelligence Committee.
And I'll start with you, Ms. Sandberg.
Social media enables you to share what you want to share when you want to share it without asking permission from
I just want that on a big placard.
anyone. And that's how we meet our mission, which is giving people a voice. And I think what's more important than just the content people share is the connections they make.
Connections.
Social media enables people to celebrate their birthdays.
Woo! Yeah! Social media's birthday calendar! Woo! When I heard that, I said, "This is fantastic." How do they come up with this? Who approved that? Did Zuck go? Yeah. Number 2 on the list: birthdays. The Dutch are jumping up and down.
And I think what's more important than just the content people share is the connections they make. Social media enables people to celebrate their birthdays.
And I'm sorry, this was my first birthday in many years without Facebook. And
you celebrated it just fine.
Yeah, I'm still here, and it was really calm. And the few people that did get through to me, they really love me. So it was a good feeling.
In the last year, people have raised $300 million on Facebook on birthday funders for nonprofits they care about.
Birthday funders? Oh, it's a double whammy on the birthdays for the Socialnets.
Safety check. Millions of people in the worst circumstances of their lives have let their loved ones know they're safe.
How about a text message? Does that work still? Hey, I'm still alive.
Phone call.
Thank God there's Facebook.
And small businesses to grow. All around the country, I meet with small businesses, from a woman making dresses in her living room and selling them on Instagram.
With one arm.
To a local plumber.
With no legs.
Who are able to find their customers on Facebook and then able to grow and hire people and live their American dream.
And that's her entire statement. That is what social media is. It's about sharing anything you want without anyone telling you what to do, unless your name is Alex Jones. It's about birthdays, raising money for birthdays, and what was the last one?
Yeah, small businesses with no legs.
Yes, sad people with little who are retirees who are doing work somewhere. They can make a buck. That's social media.
Huh.
So Jack Dorsey,
who knew?
I mean, if I was Zuckerberg, like, dude, you didn't do a good job on that. That's not what social media is. Anyway, so Dorsey doesn't really even answer the question. He goes straight to what he's thinking, and this will come back I have just a couple other clips. This will come back, and it's deep, and I really appreciate the thinking he put into it. And also notice that the senator addresses him as Jack and not Mr. Dorsey in this particular clip. I just thought that was interesting for context.
They're able to find their customers on Facebook and then able to grow and hire people and live their American dream.
Jack.
I believe it's really important to understand how the people see it. And we believe that the people use Twitter as they would a public square. And they often have the same expectations that they would have of any public space. For our part, we see our platform as hosting and serving conversations. Those conversations are in the public. We think there's a lot of benefit to those conversations being in the public, but there's obviously a lot of risks as well. We see that news and entertainment are actually byproducts of public conversation.
A very astute observation. And I don't know if the media likes it, but I thought that was good. Yes, it's a byproduct. Absolutely.
The media should like it, and they should use it as an ammunition against them because it's not primary. So, yeah, you can advertise with Twitter, but it's a byproduct. It's like advertising with a byproduct. You know, byproduct, like a byproduct of pork.
No. He says something. He said news is a byproduct of Twitter. Well,
yeah, I think what he means by news is like reporting news.
Yeah, so Twitter is ground zero. The media is just taking the shreds that fly off the edge of the machine.
No, I don't think that's what he meant.
I think that's exactly what he meant. Well, it doesn't matter. We can disagree on that. I'd like
continue.
Yes.
News and entertainment are actually byproducts of public conversation. And we see our role as helping to not only serve that public conversation so that everyone can benefit, even if they don't have a Twitter account.
I don't know what that means. Everyone can benefit from Twitter even if you don't have a Twitter account.
Well, you can always go on the site. You can always put a Twitter link up.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
To not only serve that public conversation so that everyone can benefit, even if they don't have a Twitter account.
That's important.
But also to increase the health of that conversation as well.
The health.
And in order to do that, we need to be able to measure it. We need to.
Now, this is deep. He's saying the health of that conversation, and I think
the health.
I think contextually, I think I understand what he's talking about. Is it the
health?
The health, yes, the health. So the healthiness of the conversation, the health. If it is something that is making people happy and therefore healthy, because they either, I would say, agree with each other is one way. If you have everyone agreeing with each other, I don't know how that works, but okay. Or
just go into Dimension B for a few minutes on Twitter. You'll know how it works really quick.
Right. But do we all agree that he's saying healthy conversations where people aren't like and making themselves sick, literally making themselves sick, which is what social media is. What is social media, Mr. Curry? It's a place where people go to get sick. That's my answer.
But also to increase the health of that conversation as well. And in order to do that, we need to be able to measure it.
Measure.
We need to understand what healthy participation looks like in a public square, and we need to amplify that. And more importantly, we need to question a lot of the fundamentals that we started with 12 years ago in the form of incentives. When people use our product every single day, when they open our app up, what are we incentivizing them to do? Not telling them what to do, but what are we actually incentivizing them to do? And that certainly speaks to the buttons that we have in our service all the way to our business model.
So didn't really answer he dealt with the social media question quite quickly. It's a public square, and people expect the same type of actions they can take on the public square. Although I would wager to say, because of anonymity, people actually show themselves, their true selves. And being on Twitter is like looking at your own anus, because we're all like that to some degree. But then he goes into this very deep thinking, which we'll come back to later, about what exactly are we doing? What are we doing here? Now, I don't know if you can ever measure the health of a conversation, although you never know what machine learning and AI can do. But I thought there was at least some thinking, and not the, it's for birthdays. Now, this being the...
Put a time code down.
Gee, I already have a couple. Okay. This being the foreign influence in social media. So, how are we responding? This is just kind of a general response to, are they working together? Are we collaborating? Are we doing the minute we see bad actors, or actually a new term will pop up in a moment. Whenever we see these bad actors, do we have systems in place? And man, when you listen to this and how they're all like agreeing with each other and nodding and, oh yeah, we're all locked down.
I think our collaboration has greatly increased. We've always worked closely with law enforcement, and we continue to do that, and particularly the FBI's new task force.
New task force!
We've always shared information with other companies, but I think we are doing better, and we can continue to do better. Mr. Chairman, you noted in your opening remarks that some of the tips we got came from a private security firm. In our mind, that's the system working. Our opponents are very well funded. They are very organized, and we are going to get those tips from law enforcement, from each other, from private firms. And the faster we can collaborate, the faster we share those tips with each other, the stronger our collective defenses will be.
You're getting too far away from what.
That was just a little bit of a report.
She said our opponents?
Yes.
What is that supposed to mean?
And the new FBI task force that certainly has great collaborating with them. Oh, yeah.
What does she mean by our opponents?
The Russians.
Oh, you sure she doesn't mean Republicans?
Well, she didn't say Russians. She said opponents. So I think that she meant a wide variety. Could be Republicans who are influenced by Russians, or who have ever had a Russian dressing on their salad. I don't know. Those are her words. And she's pretty precise with how she speaks. She's rehearsed quite well.
Our opponents.
Mm-hmm. Our opponents, yes. And we have especially now the
opponents has a certain, we really mean, we got to stop here. And I want to look up this word.
Okay.
Because if she's that precise, then we have to assume that there's some something within this definition. Someone who competes. Okay, if she says our opponents, she says someone who competes against or fights another in a contest, game, or argument, a rival or adversary.
Yes, I think Russia fits in there, but also Republicans.
I think Twitter fits in there.
Yes, that actually when I first heard this, because you're paying attention to a lot of things at the same time, I thought she was actually talking about Twitter. But then I went back, and she wasn't. She was referring to his opening comments about the attacks on our democracy. Attacks on our democracy.
So by our opponent, she means the attacks on our democracy.
I think so, yeah. The attacks
on $100,000 worth of cheap advertising. That's kind of silly.
Yes, and the $100,000. Again, I'm sorry. A week from today, we'll pull that apart. That did come up, and it's important. All right, let me move on. Because now we have a new term, as we're now going to talk about a little more about what is permitted, what can and can't be done on the platform. And she has all kinds of interesting terms, very much like unindicted co-conspirator, which is what will go on Donald Trump's tombstone if it's up to the Democrats. Unindicted co-conspirator who's pre-dead at this moment. Be precancerous. So here we're going to talk about, well, you'll hear it. It's just new terms and interesting stuff.
What entity do you have in each of your companies who make these determinations?
Our policy team is setting those, and our security team is finding them. And coordinated inauthentic behavior means behavior on our site that...
This is it. This is her big thing. Inauthentic behavior. You want to look something up? What does that mean? Isn't everybody by definition who's on Facebook inauthentic?
That's the whole game, isn't it?
Yes, you're supposed to be inauthentic. Look inauthentic, take pictures that are inauthentic, post inauthentically, and once in a while say Trump is a dick. Isn't that what everyone does? That's the only authenticity I'm seeing.
Coordinated inauthentic behavior means behavior on our site that's inauthentic, so people are not representing themselves to be who they are to be. And coordinated means they are...
What?
I know.
They're not representing themselves who they are to be?
Not representing themselves to be who they are to be.
Who they are to be.
What does that even mean?
Well, they're not representing themselves who they are to be. Who they are to be. From Arby's. Who they are to be. Sandwich from Arby's.
They're not representing themselves to who they are.
Who they are to be.
Blah, 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 blah.
Who they are to be. Okay, so she's trying to explain inauthentic behavior. I think she means that they can't really, and if they think she even refers to it, they can't really track if someone's being inauthentic, which I guess means I'm a Russian spy covering as the hot girl in a bikini on Facebook. I think that's what she means.
Behavior means behavior on our site that's inauthentic, so people are not representing themselves to be who they are to be. And coordinated means they are coordinating it. And they can be coordinating with authentic actors and coordinating with inauthentic actors.
I need welcome to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. This clip is lovely.
It's pretty funny.
What is lovely about this clip is that Stewart is real. He's like No Agenda, the way he used to be before he got blindsided by, Hillary not winning or whatever his problem was, whatever everyone's problem is. This is how it used to be on The Daily Show when we loved it. With Judith Miller, the woman who wrote about the weapons of mass destruction, the aluminum tubes, and she's there promoting her book, and he is going to pull her apart.
You wrote an article, this is September 8th, 2011, right? This was the big article. It said, U.S. says Hussein intensifies quest for A-bomb parts.
You mean Michael Gordon and I wrote an article?
Sure.
Yeah.
Front page of the New York Times next to a giant picture of Never Forget 9/11. It was right around the first, there it is, in memory of 9/11, front page. The information came from the Bush administration, yes?
Broadly speaking, yes. It came from intelligence analysts and people in the Bush administration, yes.
It came from the Bush administration?
Right.
Right. So you write this article.
Right.
And you have somebody named David Albright, who is your source for whether or not this claim is wrong.
No, he wasn't a source.
Or he's an expert.
He's an expert.
Okay, and he's the guy you rely on and trust to tell you if this is wrong or right.
No, one of several experts, because opinion is divided, and you have to ask a lot of different people.
He's the expert that you write in your book, that you trust, that you're desperately trying to reach.
Yes, I was desperately trying to reach him.
Yes.
Couldn't reach him.
So you just went with it.
Well, because we had other sources.
Who were the other sources? The guy in Bush's office, Joseph, who you didn't name.
Whom I name in the book.
But not in the article.
No, but I named Charles Delfer in the article.
Right.
And I named who was the chief weapons inspector.
Right.
And we named Ahmed Chalabi and said that he was the man who wanted to take us to war so that you could evaluate the information.
And
we had many
that we
qualifiers.
Are paying him to spread that information.
We had reported that many times.
Okay,
in the New
so
York Times.
we know we're paying them.
Right.
So we're paying, or the Bush administration is paying these guys to spread information about Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction. At the same time this is happening, Dick Cheney is going on television in August and saying there's a nuclear program, there's all these things. And in September, they begin what's called the White House Iraq Group. Yes? And that's a group of Karl Rove, Karen Hughes, and all these people, Gerson, and their job is to sell the war to the American people because they're not buying it.
Can I just talk about aluminum tubes?
Please.
Because there was something we knew that was new, that was really spinning up the intelligence community. We didn't know what it was.
Sound familiar? Oh, something's going on. Everyone's talking about it. Russian collusion.
So you report that they've got these tubes. This Albright guy never calls you back.
No.
So you run with it. Now, there's a phrase in your story on the 8th there where an unnamed source says, we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.
Right.
Right. That phrase, do you know where that phrase comes from?
No, because I only know that Condi Rice repeated it.
Right. It comes from the White House Iraq Group.
Well, she's a member.
5 days before you write the article.
But it's a very powerful line, and it explains their thinking.
But it comes from Gerson. It's a political line directly tied to the White House. You said the information doesn't come from them.
John, were we not supposed to report what it was that had the intelligence community so nervous about
Russian collusion?
About Saddam?
No, you should have reported it, though, in the context that this administration was very clearly pushing a narrative. And by losing sight of that context, by not reporting...
I think we did. The story said we
wholeheartedly disagree with you.
Well, that's what makes journalism. I mean...
It's actually not what makes journalism, so let's continue with this.
Let's continue.
So you don't run with... You run with the story when David Albright doesn't call you back. He calls you back on that Tuesday and says, there's something wrong with this.
Right.
These tubes are not used for that. They're used for rockets.
Right.
In your article on the 18th, which runs on page 13, not on page 1, and is still... I understand that, but it's still entitled... White House lists Iraq steps to build banned weapons. It's still titled something that seems like
because the White House had just released another paper saying we have more evidence.
Albright calls you and said this is wrong.
Right.
Okay. You don't put that in that article. Why?
I did put it in. I said that the community was divided. I didn't quote David Albright.
He said you could quote him by name.
Yes, he did.
Why didn't you?
I think the story got cut for space.
Bullshit.
But I didn't, look.
So in your original article, you wrote in there David Albright, and they cut it by taking out his name.
I really don't remember, because on that story, I couldn't
say in the book is, what you say in the book is,
I couldn't remember.
You couldn't corroborate it.
That's right, because he said these are the labs that have the people that have a different view of these tubes.
Right.
And I must have called 10 or 15 people, and nobody would talk about it. And so I went to David and I said, tell me one person who can corroborate this, and we'll put this, we'll make the story as long as we possibly can.
We'll
and
sell
he
it.
Either couldn't or wouldn't. There was a problem, because David, even though he disagreed about the tubes, believed that Saddam had a nuclear weapons program.
I understand that. But the standard of proof in all this seems much higher on the side of this is not an issue and they're not a threat, and much lower on the side of you're being fed.
But that's what the intelligence community believed.
That's what they were feeding you. Yes. They created...
No, that's what they believed, John.
All right. Well, we're never going to see eye to eye on it. I mean, I appreciate you coming on the program. These discussions always make me incredibly sad, because I feel like they point to institutional failure at the highest levels, and no one will take responsibility for it.
I think they point
to... They pass the buck to every individual other than themselves.
I think they point to intelligence failures that I still worry about every day, because we're still relying on the same intelligence communities to give us information about Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, and the other countries that we have to deal with.
Well, hopefully, given the same effort, we'll get to invade all of them soon.
I hope we won't.
WTC7 won't go away.
Well, I have one comment there that the audience and you kind of laughed at when she said, I think that was cut for space. What happens in these situations where you have the intelligence community and the coziness that they have with the editors of the New York Times.
Yes, you're right.
And there's plenty of stories, that back this up. What happens is that she gets the quote from some guy. He says, yeah, you can quote me. And then he immediately calls the editors through some channel, a back channel, says, hey, don't quote me.
Exactly. Yeah. Oops. And then, okay. Well,
it's very easy to take out. And if she says anything, you say, hey, I was cut for space. Yeah,
exactly.
So she probably did put it in, but it was cut for space, and that was that. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Well, that's exactly what's going on now. Nothing changes.
Yeah, well, that is exactly my. Well, as it was obvious, that's my point. It's like all this belief in the intelligence community, and we have not learned that they sometimes really get it wrong, and there might be agendas at play. This is the journos. This is the people who we need to trust. Chuck Todd should be ashamed of what he's saying. It's really a travesty, and that's why we exist. And there's clearly a need for what we do, because people are supporting the show, and we've been doing that for a decade. Despite there being more podcasts, more media, more news than ever, we're still here. And we have a special show on Sunday for y'all, the Dvorak doubleheader. Make sure you check that out, and remember us at dvorak.org/NA. And the next time we speak, I will be in Italy still. That'll be next Thursday, and I will remember to have the clip of Kamala Harris and Sheryl Sandberg. Until then, coming in from downtown Austin, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA region number 6 on the governmental maps in the show Elementary. In the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where time's run out, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return with our Dvorak doubleheader on Sunday. Until then, adios, mojos.
Zephyr just shot by.
Early.
Nope, right on time. That's exactly the time it should be coming by. 15 minutes after 9. It was going full tilt.
Did you hear that horn? Not a foamer's delight.
What was cool about it, there's a freight train on the other track going in the same direction, and it just passed like we're standing still.
Wow, so cool.
You ready?
Almost. Trying to get over the coolness of another train on the track, and the Zephyr went by, and it looked like it was standing still. I mean, holy crap, man.
Holy moly.
That's just so cool. OMG. Right. Well, let's do this.
Oh my God! Woo! Listen to that horn!
Not a foamer's delight.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Podcaster. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Adam. Love you. No homo.
So however long people want to take, we're going to.
Because this whole process is supposed to be a civil one where people get to ask questions and we get to get answers. It's an undermining of the constitutional role to which we have all sworn an oath to uphold.
To answer every question about his role in almost anything he's done in his lifetime, I assume.
But as President Obama famously said, elections have consequences.
But frankly, we're not here to consider you as the president of our neighborhood civic association or even to review whether you've been a great youth basketball coach.
That should come within time.
I wrote a big book, which I will never read.
I know the man. He does things because it's the right thing to do.
Oh, don't vote for Donald. He will grab you by the pussy. He will grab you by the pussy. You stop it. Grab you by the pussy. He will grab you by the pussy. Talking to you now, lady. Grab you by the pussy. Meow, meow. Grab you by the pussy. Don't vote for him. He'll grab you by the pussy. One more time, yeah. Grab you by the pussy.
It's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA. Oh my God! Listen to that horn!
And on the stream for your listening enjoyment at NoAgendaStream.com, Nick the Rat is up next.
You're listening to NoAgendaStream.com. All talk, no commercials, no agenda.
Now hear this. The minute we get out of here, the first thing we do is dump the matched luggage.
Who is that? Now you hear this, whoever you are. You will not touch that luggage. And furthermore, I want this pigsty cleaned up. I will not be rescued in such filth.
Listen, on this ship, I don't take orders, I give them. This is my dream boat, sweetheart.
Sweetheart? Uh-oh. How dare you speak to me that way? You will address me in the proper manner as your Royal Highness. I am Princess Vespa, daughter of Roland, king of the Druids.
Oh, that's all we needed. A Druish princess. Funny, she doesn't look Druish.
Welcome to the sewers, everybody, of Brooklyn, New York. I'm Nick the Rat, and this is radio. All right, I'll mark that down as worst intro ever. All right, it's episode 142, September 5th, 2018. Worst intro ever. Okay, we wrote that down. We're good to go. Tonight, folks, we have a very special episode. Tonight we'll be talking about druids. Why did I even want to look into druids? Well, it's because all these other things I was doing, the name kind of just popped up. So we're going to talk about them. It's a very important subject, I think. And I don't think many people understand it. So we're going to understand it together. Together, we're going to stand up and know about the druids. I actually think we are already all druids. You are a druid, and I'm a druid, and he's a druid, and Drew over there, he drew it on the wall. We also have a special guest in the studio, but we'll introduce him in a little bit. It's crazy. I don't know why he's here right now, actually, looking at me. It's buggy eyes. We're also going to have music, of course. We're going to talk about druids. We're going to be drinking beer. We're going to be smoking weed. We're going to be listening to some news, perhaps. I don't know. We might have some live news today. I'm actually a little bit scared about that. And we will have phone calls and voicemails and stuff. It'll be a really fun time. I hope you're all ready to go. I hope you're all naked and covered in moss because it's Druid night, moss night. It's moss night in the sewer. You know, those druids. We're gonna learn a lot tonight. I'm gonna tell you that much. Oh, also there's gonna be a movie review. A very Nick the Rat movie review about Wicker Man. So that's coming up. Not the Nicolas Cage one, even though that would have been a hoot to watch again. I've seen that. It was pretty difficult to get through. But this one was actually a very good movie, I thought. I liked it a lot. I saw it on Shudder.com. And now I should shudder up and listen to some music, which, this is kind of funny. One of the songs that I picked to play has disappeared, but I'll find another one. And in the meantime, we're going to listen to Imagine by Bengal. Where did that song go? That's weird.